News in Israel is correct in their reporting that Jared Kushner has told Donald Trump, his father-in-law, that negotiations are going nowhere, it's a waste of time, that the United States should attack, well, that's a real problem. Because, you see, Iran has not attacked the United States. Congress of the United States has not declared war. And the UN Security Council has no resolutions authorizing the use of force against Iran. So there is no basis upon which the United States of America can lawfully attack Iran. Now, apparently, those minor details aren't on anybody's agenda. The buildup of American military force in the Middle East continues unabated. And let me give you a brief rundown. The USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier and its strike group transited the Strait of Gibraltar this morning, moving from the Atlantic Ocean into the Mediterranean Sea. And I have an image and I have video showing the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier transiting the Strait of Gibraltar into the Mediterranean today. So from today, it's a maximum of only 3 more days until the Gerald R. Ford is within striking range of Iran, and the Gerald R. Ford is already within range of Israel if the aircraft aboard that aircraft carrier were to be used solely to defend Israel. So U.S. forces are moving. And the aircraft carrier Gerald R. Ford is the least of it. When I get back, I'll tell you a lot more. 16 p.m., Hal Turner back with you live from metropolitan New York City this 17th day of February 2026. The U.S. military buildup into the Middle East continues. Now, last night on this show, I reported to you that from Sunday night through Monday, yesterday, the United States deployed 3 squadrons of F-35 jets to the Middle East. And a squadron is 24 jets. So 3 squadrons total 72 jets. Well, that didn't change when today arrived, Tuesday. Over the course of today, 50 more aircraft, military aircraft, have been routed from United States resources to the Middle East. Yes, you heard me correctly. 50 more aircraft. Now, let me tell you what they were. Hang on a second. I just got to get to my notes real quick. It's on another page. All right. At least 36 F-16s, at least 12 F-22s, at least 4 KC-135 refueling tankers, and 4 AWACS, Airborne Warning and Control System, the aircraft with the giant radar dish on the top. The F-22s departed Langley Air Force Base, headed over to the United Kingdom, Mindenhall, and then took off from there to the Middle East. So 50 more military aircraft left today, and some of them have already arrived over in Europe and are now once again airborne toward the Middle East. But all these aircraft are going to the Middle East. So this is a big military buildup. This is the largest United States military buildup since Gulf War I. And that was back in 1991 when Saddam Hussein of Iraq invaded Kuwait, and the United States, acting on United Nations Security Council resolutions and an authorization for the use of military force by the U.S. Congress, joined with a number of other nations to invade Iraq, topple the government of Saddam Hussein, and force Iraq to withdraw from Kuwait, which was achieved in 100 days. This is the largest today, right now, as I speak. The United States has undertaken the largest military deployment since the 1991 Gulf War. So this is serious. This is way serious. And I got to tell you, folks, I know that some ground troops were moved, but not necessarily for an invasion. I suspect, this is just me guessing, that they are to support the air equipment that has been sent over there. But it's starting to look to me like this is going to be primarily a U.S. military air campaign. And I am not a military tactician. I have no formal military tactics training. So I'm just making an assessment as an average guy. I don't believe it is possible to force regime change on a country as large as Iran simply by using airstrikes. I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible to see a situation in Iran like was done down in Venezuela. Iran's a much larger, much more advanced country than Venezuela. And I don't see us sending ground troops for an actual invasion. Iran, however, has very technically advanced air defenses. Not just Iranian radar, but the Chinese three-dimensional radar that I outlined to all of you on my radio show last night. Iran has Russian technology. And Iran has their own surface-to-air missiles. I am told that Iran has also received Russian surface-to-air missiles, and I've also been told that Iran has received Chinese surface-to-air missiles of the newest type because China wants to test them in real battle conditions. Well, those realities, Iranian missiles, Russian missiles, Chinese missiles, Iranian radar, Chinese 3D radar, and gosh only knows what they got from Russia, could, I think, maybe I'm wrong, could make our fighter jets sitting ducks. Now, we are no shrinking violet. We have high technology too. And I presume that we can jam a lot of these air defenses. I presume that we can blind a lot of these radar, but I'm not sure. Which brings us to some of Iran's missiles. They have hypersonic missiles. Missiles that travel faster than the speed of sound. Now, the speed of sound at sea level is what, like 721 miles an hour, I think? That's Mach 1. Iran's missiles travel at Mach 5. They also have airborne interceptor avoidance technologies. As these missiles are flying, they have onboard radar that can detect when other missiles are heading toward them. And the Iranian missiles can adjust their course as they travel at Mach 5 and basically steer right around or over or under the incoming air defenses. And when those hypersonic missiles head out to sea, then it would be the ship defenses that would have to intercept them. And I have to tell you, I wish I was wrong. But all the information I have seems to indicate that we would not have great success if they were to fire a number of these hypersonic missiles at, let's say, an aircraft carrier like the USS Abraham Lincoln or the aircraft carrier USS Gerald R. Ford. And the accompanying carrier strike group, the destroyers and the guided missile cruisers, they too have substantial inbound missile defenses, but I'm not so sure how successful they will be if Iran launches barrages of these hypersonic missiles. You know, we can defend against one, maybe two, and certainly our systems can track multiple inbound, hundreds of targets at the same time. But how many can our missiles from those ships engage before the ship actually gets hit? And that's the big problem. There, several problems with these hypersonic missiles. They travel so fast. They cover such great distance in such short time that by the time the ship's radar intercepts these missiles and sees them coming, there could be less than a minute for the ship to lock on, launch its own interceptor missile, and then hope the interceptor is able to intercept the inbound hypersonic. So I fear, and it's a genuine fear, that we are going to lose naval vessels. I think they're going to be sunk. And I fear that we could lose two aircraft carriers, the Abraham Lincoln and the Gerald R. Ford. And I'm sure you're aware that on a typical U.S. aircraft carrier, there are about 5,000 crewmen. Two ships, 10,000 sailors. Now, maybe there are also complements of U.S. Marine Corps personnel aboard those vessels. But I'm not certain if that's counted in the 5,000 or whether that's above and beyond the 5,000 that I am told typically crew a U.S. aircraft carrier. My God, if we were to lose a carrier, that would be horrifying loss of life. Now, I know the USS Abraham Lincoln is being tracked by China imaging satellites. And I know that China has been making those images public. And so they are revealing the present location of the USS Abraham Lincoln. And I can't help but wonder if they will also begin making available the actual location of the USS Gerald R. Ford as it proceeds eastbound in the Mediterranean Sea toward Israel. So when you've got a country like Iran that has multiple hypersonic missiles that can be adjusted in flight, and they are getting satellite data from China to pinpoint where our aircraft carriers are, I think it is a horrifying, real possibility that we lose one or two aircraft carriers. And the reaction of the American people would be first horrified. And second, the American people would demand that the U.S. declare war. The public outpouring of rage inside the United States would not be containable. And if Congress declares war, then, we got a real problem because China gets their oil from Iran. China is not simply going to let Iran be attacked by the United States and invaded. Iran manufactures military gear like drones for Russia in their war with Ukraine. Russia may also have to enter. So the United States would find itself fighting Iran, likely China, and quite probably Russia. Sounds like World War III to me. I don't like this at all. I'll be back right after this brief break.